Moim Państwa gościem dzisiaj jest Lambert Wilson, gwiazda filmu Odyseja. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
First question, after I saw the movie, Jacques Cousteau, he's a little bit, I don't know, asshole or very egocentric guy?
Well, in France, some people think he's a semi-god, and some people think he's awful. I think he's a man, you know, so he has good sides and he has bad sides. I think he, you know, he was obsessed with his dream, and he had a very big curiosity, big energy, and he was a great seducer of women and men. You know, he was like always trying to obtain usually money from people to continue his dream. But then he was also a hard father, it's true.
Yeah, if you see his family life, he didn't care about anybody except himself.
I think it's not completely true. I think that when the kids were little, he was wonderful because they didn't go to school. They didn't go to school until they were 8 or 9 because they were diving with him and they were swimming and they were in the south of France. And then he got the boat and then he left for the first big expedition. And then he sent them to boarding school.
He left them.
He left them in a way, and because for him the quest was more important than the family life. That's a bad side of him. At the same time, he gave them a wonderful sense of liberty, and he showed them the beauty of nature. He showed them underwater world. He taught them how to swim and to dive. I think you know, my father was an actor, and he was very much like Cousteau, and so I lived the same thing as the two brothers in the film. And sometimes, yes, they are hard, and when you start working in their field of action, they can be so tough. But they give you the essential thing in life. They give you a philosophy, and the philosophy was admire the beauty of the universe, enjoy life because it's so short. And do the best you can, you know, always looking for something magical.
And did you discover anything new about Cousteau when you were preparing to this role?
Yes, I didn't know he was such a womanizer. I didn't know he was, because, you know, he was so thin and he was elegant because he had style, but I didn't think he was, the women were going crazy for him, and he had a lot of women in his life, including a complete parallel life. When his first wife was still alive, he had another woman, and he had 2 kids with another woman.
You don't show this in
No, we do not show it because that's the second part of his life in a way, and it would have been too complicated in a way. I think the director, Jérôme Salle, wanted to do the film really about the father-son relationship. That's the real subject. The subject is not Cousteau. The subject is the conflict between a father and a son who adore one another. They are crazy about one another, but they cannot be together. They cannot express their love.
Yeah, he has 2 sons. One he's very proud of, and
Yes.
he sees his successor in him. And the other one is like, he's there, okay, but
He doesn't see him.
Yeah, I don't need him to improve my life. You had the same? Because you said your father was an actor, but I don't know.
I have a brother. It was
Yeah.
exactly the same thing, except that I was a combination of the 2 sons because my father did not look at me and ignored me. I was number 2, and he was crazy about my brother. And I also, like Philippe in the film, I wanted to do the same job. My brother became a musician, and so he led his life. I chose to be in the same field of action as my dad. So when I started as a young actor, he was so hard, but so hard, like Cousteau. So in a way, I was a combination of both.
So maybe it's a French thing.
No, I think it's a universal thing, which is the reason why I think that the film can work in many different countries, because I think that both fathers and sons, and even also mothers and daughters, can identify with this problem. We have a fantasy of the reunion with the son and the father, which happens in the film in Antarctica.
I think in the scene what you're saying, the whole life of Cousteau is changing. Because not only his approach to the sun, but also the approach to the earth, to the ecology.
Totally. I mean, basically, Cousteau is an archetypal character of the 20th century. So at the beginning, nature is there at his disposal. He's like a hunter. So in the 50s, when he did the film World of Silence, for which he won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, you know, that he did terrible things. You know, he was killing sharks, and he was really
kidnapping them also.
Yeah, and so he had a very bad reputation because of that. But then he became aware of his mistakes, and he really did like a big mea culpa. And then he also observed the destruction of the seas because of pollution, plastic, acid rains. So he started noticing the change, like man in the 20th century. And then he had a big revelation because of his son, who was a great ecological militant. So then they went together to Antarctica, and then he really embarked in a new life, which was to become a militant himself. And then because of him, Antarctica is still protected until 2048, because he went to all the heads of states and convinced them to protect. Antarctica does not belong to anyone, and no one can touch the resources of Antarctica. So he is a man of his time. He was, like, as I said, taking nature, and then he started observing the change, and then he restarted, as he says in the film, I wanted to conquer the world. In fact, I had to protect it. And then at the end of his life, the entire second part of his life, it was all about protecting nature.
Okay. So, w takim razie zapraszam Was razem z Lambertem na film Odyseja. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Je la vois, c'est la maison là-bas.
Quand on est sous l'eau, on est dans l'apesanteur la plus totale. En dessous, eh bien, un bleu de plus en plus profond. Un monde entier à découvrir.
Qu'est-ce qu'on attend?
Calypso. Tu vas pas acheter ça? Ah bah c'est déjà fait.
Ce bateau, c'est notre rêve à tous les deux qu'on va réaliser.
Pourquoi tu restes pas ici travailler avec nous?
Les Américains partent à la conquête de l'espace, et bien nous partons à la conquête de la mer.
T'es prêt à faire n'importe quoi pour du fric, en fait?
De quoi tu parles?
Tu vas pouvoir raconter une belle histoire, bien bidon, bien mégalo comme thème, hein. Le commandant Cousteau et son équipage se lient d'amitié avec des animaux sauvages, mais c'est super, c'est génial, bravo. C'est des conneries, ça.
Je me souviens de la sensation la première fois que j'ai mis la tête sous l'eau. L'immensité, la pureté.
Toutes ces années, quand je te regardais avancer comme ça, sûr de toi, bah je t'admirais. Parce que je t'ai tellement admiré, papa.
Je t'aimerai toujours.
T'es un bon parleur, Jacques.
Il y a plus de 30 ans, j'ai découvert un nouveau monde. J'ai voulu le conquérir. Alors qu'en fait, il fallait le protéger.
Mais il est encore temps.